So when's he coming back? Are they making a good day?
So it's good to see everyone here today. Speaking of cell phone, check those. So, cell. All right, so this is the April 9th, 2024 Hardin County Fiscal Court. And
Here. Here.
Yes, please pray with me. Father God, we come to you today to ask for your guidance in making important decisions that are in the best interest of our county. Help us all to remember that it is by your grace and mercy that we serve others in a way that will enhance and benefit their lives. Watch over our families and communities as we progress and grow in a manner that pleases you. Lord, we pray together this afternoon. Help us to remain humble and appreciative of your blessings and love. Lord Jesus, may we all do and say things in your glory. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all right, again, thanks for joining today. Just a quick review of the agenda. As we have approval of our minutes coming up next, we have a presentation today that I'm looking forward to. We also have a public hearing that we'll go through. We have some department office reports, presentations. We'll have our typical time of any citizens' concerns or comments. We'll move into some time that we'll be spending on proposed budget. I have a presentation at that point, and then we'll move on into our first reading of the budget ordinance. We'll have another ordinance to deal with there, and then we'll have our consent agenda that I'll go through, and then comments at the end, and then we do have a closed session today before we adjourn. Okay, so that's the agenda. At that, we will move on to approving the Hardin County Fiscal Court 3/26/2024 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will have a roll call.
Squire Clem.
Yes.
Squire Hicks.
Yes.
Squire Muse.
Yes.
Squire Pennington.
Yes.
Squire Saltzman.
Yes.
Squire Thompson.
Yes.
Squire Whitehead.
Yes.
Squire Yates.
Yes.
Judge Executive Keith Taul.
Yes, motion passes. All right, next we have in our informational agenda item here, we have the court-appointed special advocates, CASA of the Heartland, Michelle Kail, will present for us today.
Hi, good evening, y'all. Thank you so much for having me out this evening. As Judge Taul said, I'm Michelle Kail, I'm the Executive Director for CASA of the Heartland. So for those of you who might not be familiar with CASA, it is Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and we recruit, train, and support community volunteers to advocate for abused, neglected, and dependent children in now both Hardin and LaRue counties. We currently have around 50 children on our waiting list, and those are children that CASA has been appointed to, but we don't currently have an advocate to serve those children. 50 is a large number, but this time last year, that number was around 98. And so we have worked very strenuously in the last year to, get children off of that wait list, work with the courts to get CASA appointed and, recruit and train advocates to serve those children. So I'm, very happy to see that number coming down, but still 50 kiddos too many that we really need volunteers to serve. So in 2023, we were able to serve 182 children, which is a significant increase from 2022 with 126 children. So we are trying to keep up with, the growth that we're seeing here in Hardin County and surrounding counties. And then we more than doubled the number of new children served last year from 2021. So we were able to serve 93 new children. And 64 of the 182 that we served were able to find permanency either through reunifying with their parents, living with a relative, a family friend, or through adoption. And then some of those were older youth that recommitted to the cabinet and worked toward independent living. But we had 64 of them that were able to achieve permanency in some form. So the financial impact of CASA, our volunteer background checks are close to $65, and then training is an additional $20. So that is a significant increase for us. This time last year it cost us around $15 to run a background check for an advocate, and now that's up to around $65. So we wised up and we started not running those checks until they get at least halfway through their training. And that has helped us out quite a bit. 1 month of advocacy for a child with CASA is $195, and 1 year of advocacy with CASA is around $2,340. And that's based on our annual operating expenses, the number of children served, and the number of volunteers that we have. And right now, our annual cost to provide advocacy for a child is about $47 less than it cost for 1 month of foster care. So CASA is very efficient in the advocacy that we provide for the children in our community. So one of the biggest questions that we get all the time is, what are some ways that our community or our local governments can support CASA? So monetary support is, of course, always appreciated with general donations, budget inclusions. We do have an endowment that's eligible for tax credit. We recently started accepting stock donations, and then, of course, sponsorship for any of our events. And then come to CASA events. So on March 28th, we had our pinwheel planting over at Elizabethtown Police Department. I know several of you came out to support, so thank you. I would say it was very successful. We had close to 200 community members come out to plant pinwheels with us, and it's really just to raise awareness throughout the month of April for child abuse prevention. On May 10th, we are going to have our Light the Night 5K over at Elizabethtown Sports Park, and then on June 15th, we will have our annual Farm to Fork dinner. So I invite you all to come to any of our events. I think I put some invites in your folders. And then share CASA with others. You know, the biggest need that we have is for volunteers. You know, people always ask, what do you need more money or people? And for us, you know, you can't really have one without the other. We have to have a good balance, because if, you know, if we're bringing in donations, but we're not bringing in the people to support the children, then, you know, what is that money being used for? So our need for volunteers, especially with the growth that, you know, we anticipate seeing around Hardin County, you know, we will desperately need volunteers, and do desperately need volunteers based on our wait list. So if you know anybody who would make a good volunteer, please send them our way. Or if you know someone who's interested and they've got questions, send them our way. Encourage others to come to CASA events, and then share our impact. Like I said, we've had a lot of growth in the last year. We also expanded into LaRue County because they did not previously have services, so now we are serving both Hardin and LaRue counties after serving a little over 15 years in Hardin County. So, you know, that's kind of what CASA has been doing in the last 365 days. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Ms. Michelle, here in 2023, you had 76 active volunteers, which is a good increase, and congratulations on that. What about this year? How many do you have currently?
So when I started last year, so the active volunteers is not a great number to look at, but if you look at the assigned volunteers, I think we had 55 last year, and we are down to 47 assigned volunteers. And part of the reason is, prior to me stepping in as executive director, volunteers were not being discharged from the program if they were no longer taking a case. And so last year we discharged around 25 volunteers who had not taken or served on a case in over a year. And so now our active and assigned volunteers there's much less of a gap. I think we only have 4 volunteers who are active and not currently assigned, and they are all mentally accounted for as to why they're not currently serving on a case. So yeah, right now we have 47 volunteers.
Well, I know that your number has been cut in half because for several years you could at any given time be about 100 children waiting for a CASA.
Yes.
So congratulations to you and your team and your volunteers for cutting that number in half. That's amazing. We appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you very much. Do you have any other questions?
Did you want to tell people where they can get tickets for the Farm to Fork?
Yes, so if you are interested in purchasing a Farm to Fork ticket, you can go to casaheartland.org, and there is a ticket form where you can purchase tickets there, and that's for, like, if you want to use a credit card, but if you want to pay with cash or check, you swing by our office or give me a call and we'll jot you down, and, you know, we hope to see some of you there. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much. I appreciate you.
Public input or comment on possible uses of county road funds. The amount of that from the county road aid is $1,929,729. Municipal road aid in the amount of $178,708.67. And then the local government economic assistance fund for roads is $215,000. Those are the amounts to be expended by Hardin County. So if anyone either wants to make public comment, or if you have written comment that you would like to make, you could come forward now. Okay, seeing none, that will close the hearing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is a couple presentations. First one, animal control, Mike McNutt.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to always go over the numbers, and going to go through those kind of quick because I have some stuff I want to share with y'all about our community involvement. I don't know that everyone's aware of what we are doing outside of just animal control and, you know, picking up animal citations, stuff like that. So I'm going to go kind of fast through these. In the month of March, we adopted out 61, which is a fairly good number, but we're busting at the seams all the time now. And the animals are staying longer, and the minute there's a space, there's another one coming in. So for the year to date, our dog adoptions are at 523, and the return is to their owner is at 223. A lot of that is happening out in the field. So if your dog's microchipped or has a license and we can look up the information and get it back to you, we're doing that without bringing it into the shelter. We've been doing that for a while, but we're really ramping up, and we're seeing 20 and 30 animals a month that we're returning in the field instead of bringing them back to the shelter. The rescue numbers at 8%. All dog rescues are sitting full all the time right now. So unless you're telling them that you're going to euthanize, they're really not picking from you. If I get to that point to where I feel that we have to euthanize, I will definitely do that, but I'm not going to make up something just to get them to take an animal from us. We're a good group, and we're going to work inside our own abilities to try and get them out. The dogs euthanized is at 11%. They're just not moving. We're staying full all the time. That number's, you know, that number right there is animals that we cannot rehabilitate or that are hit by car or have, I mean, sometimes some of these animals are, you know, 20 years old and there's nothing we can really do for them. There is a gray muzzle society which works on older dogs, but they're full all the time. So we try to get them out as much as we can, but that's where our euthanasia is at. Our adoptions are down 10% compared to last year, and that's even with all the specials we're running. The return to owners at 24%, so I look for that number to keep going up. We're actually able to document what we're doing in the field now on the computer, so if I bring your dogs back to you, they can put it in on their laptop, and it goes to our numbers to show that they're out there doing that stuff. Our complaints are up a little bit less than 20%, right around 18.5%. We're getting called out more than we ever have. They've been I mean, they're running all over the county all the time now for different things. You know, no food, no water, what have you. And the majority of the time when we go out, it's not true. It's basically one neighbor wanting to harass another neighbor, and they use us to do it. That happens quite a bit. Now, when we find something, we act on it. This is a municipality report, so for the year to date, 235, no, I'm sorry, I went to the wrong one, but we're at 47%, I'm sorry, 47% on the unincorporated areas, 53% on incorporated. And the same thing goes on for the year to date. So our overall shelter live release rate, which is how you get grants and stuff, they're not going to give you grants if you're not doing everything you can to save animals. And recently we received a $20,000 grant, but we're sitting at 92%. So 92% of the animals we receive are adopted out or go to rescue. That's just the monthly. So for the month of March, we were 91%. Cats were at 94%. We had 1,083 visitors come through, either looking to adopt or to reclaim their pets. So the 108 dogs came in and 71 cats came in March, and that's plus 213 surgeries. So for that month, we served over 400 and laid hands on over 400 animals. So this is the part I was telling you about that's a little bit different. Morningside Elementary school students, their student council sold Valentine's Day candygrams and raised nearly $700 to donate to the shelter. This is the second or third year that they do that. We go out, we make a big deal about it. I mean, it is a big deal. The kids are definitely our future. This is Central Hardin High School invited us to attend their law and justice class to speak to students about local animal ordinances in Hardin County. That's Officer Carpenter and one of our shelter animals there with him at that high school. North Middle School's Beta Club visited the shelter. The students made enrichment toys for the animals and then were able to play with several of our dogs. If you look at the picture on the left, that is one training for volunteers. There's 9 people that are there to train to be volunteers at the shelter. While they can't do everything employees can do, they can exercise the dogs, they can do laundry. There's a lot of different things that they can do, and that program is growing by leaps and bounds. The right-hand side is the Paws and Boots military group. They've been on the paper several times. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with it. They come in every Saturday, weather permitting, and they exercise every single one of our dogs on the adoption floor. And that program's been going on for a couple of years now. It's very strong. It's a great relationship to have with Fort Knox. It's one of my favorite programs that we have going on. And it helps us because if all the dogs are out, we can clean easier. So we were awarded $5,000 from Petco Love Foundation for becoming a network partner. We purchased animal control officers bulletproof vests because they have guns pulled on them quite a bit, and they're seeing a lot of bad stuff. They're out there by themselves. If they need police assistance, they call and they get it. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. But a lot of times they're out there knocking on doors with no protection whatsoever. Well, now they have the vests. The other money, we purchased microchip scanners for some of the officers that were out in the field. They could scan an animal and get that information and get the animal back home if they choose to. They actually informed us that they would like to have them, and we were able to get the money up to get those for them. We of course, don't feel they should have to do our job, but there are plenty of officers we got some really good officers in Hardin County. The sheriff's office, all the different agencies are animal lovers, and they do their best to help us as much as they can. I want to take time to thank Jenny Oldham for her guidance in all these cases. Recently, we had a case that a lot of people, they believe that I can just go out and remove an animal from a bad situation. That's not true. Animals in the state of Kentucky are considered property. I have to have a search and seizure warrant to remove those animals, which means I have to meet a burden of proof. The one good thing about Jenny and her group is they protect me from myself because I'm emotional. I'm an animal person. When I see something bad, I want to remove it right then. Without Jenny, we would fail. And this recent one that we have in the paper, there was so many people that wanted to take that lady down, and they all wanted to go after the big things. Well, the big things sometimes are easier to hide than a whole bunch of the little things. That's what we ended up getting her on, was a whole bunch of little things. Now, that rescue's closed. It ain't coming back. We did it without costing the county a fortune. It was the best case scenario for us. Does anybody got any questions?
I don't have a question, Mike. I just want to say thank you specifically to that case you're talking about. Took a long time to get that done and accomplished, and you did a great work on it. Thank you. Well,
I appreciate it because you came down and you looked at those animals, and I remember, I think you were ready to see one thing because of what was on Facebook. You were ready to see just animals in horrible shape, and that was not the truth. You know, if I would have listened in the beginning, I would have went in and went after somebody for dirty cages. Well, anybody that crate trains an animal, if your animal's been in there for a while, it's going to have a dirty cage. So while that lady was up to no good, and we knew it, it took time, but we were successful, and it's gone, and it's not coming back.
Mike, I talk to you often, people bringing dogs, up to the shelter. Mm-hmm. Could you maybe just briefly tell why we would prefer people to leave the dog where it's at and then call you guys and let you guys come out?
Well, we return in the field, so if they call us and we can come out and pick up those animals, if there's not a microchip or if there's not some sort of form of identification, they will actually knock on a few doors and find a way to get that dog home. For another thing, if you don't know a dog, you don't want to put it in your car. Recently, this is just 2 weeks ago, we had a lady call and she was in Meade County. And she said, I picked the dog up in Hardin County and I drove it to my house and She had her child with her, and she put the dog in the car with her child. And she got to her house and called me and said, hey, it's acting aggressive. I can't get it out of my car. And I told her, I said, you will have to contact me, county, because I can't cross over county lines. My jurisdiction ends here. And we are having so many people, and this is across the nation, this is not just us, that are lying to us about their dogs. They're coming in and saying, hey, this is a stray I found here. And then when we look into it, and I don't want to say every way that we look into it, because as soon as I do that, they're going to stop giving us that to use against them. And I'm sorry that it's become that way, but my job is to save lives, not to take lives. But there are people that are doing their best to lie to us about their own animals. A lady came in today. She wants us to rehome her animal. I made an appointment for her. Yeah, it's not going to be tomorrow. It'll be in 2 months. But that's as soon as I can get her in safely to where I don't have to take a life. But other people, they want what they want when they want it. And the fact that we've had an open door policy in the past for years was the biggest mistake we ever made. We made the animals disposable. They're not disposable. They matter. And if you take an animal home, if you take responsibility for it, then you're responsible. You know, we get people all the time. We had a lady that she called and she said, I got a mama and puppies. And I said, well, it wasn't me talking, it was Chris, but he came and talked to me about it. And she said, mama came up and gave birth in her barn. And through talking to her, we found out that she told us she'd been feeding the dogs for 2 weeks. Well, Chris told her, well, ma'am, we can't take them in. And we explained to her because the puppies are so young, they won't survive there. There's too much sickness from us taking animals in from anywhere. Well, eventually the call got to me because she was upset. Well, when I was talking to her, she admitted to me that her dog was the father of the puppies. You can't get puppies in 2 weeks. This dog had been there for 3 or 4 months, and she was feeding it. And then when she wasn't responsible with it and had a problem, then she wants us to fix it. A lot of that's happening. And they will find out from us, okay, well, wait a minute, you've had it 6 months. It's no longer a stray. We'll make you an appointment. And then they're calling other people, and they're saying, no, I just picked it up today. And at that point, I'm not taking that dog. I work for the taxpayers. My job is to save them money, not use their money because somebody else was irresponsible. Anybody else?
No, just want to thank you and commend you for the job that you do very well. Thank you so much.
I got the
and
best
your staff
team.
as well.
I got the best team in the world, and I'll say it a million times. Hardin County does twice as much with half as much. And when I say that, I'm definitely talking about my employees. They are incredible. I get to come here and tell you all the good news, but, they're the ones that are doing the hard work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Don't you have an event this Saturday?
Yes, we have a rabies clinic. Was my favorite volunteer going to be there?
I think so.
So, yeah, we're having a rabies clinic Saturday in front of the A&E building?
It's the
Radcliffe,
the former U.S. Cavalry.
U.S. Cavalry building,
The
yeah.
former.
APR, apparently.
Yeah, so, and I have plans on more rabies clinics, but we got a grant for free vaccines, okay, for 300, and we're told that, you can get as many as you want. So we got them, and we started using them. Well, now they're harder to get, and I do not want to go to E-Town and Radcliffe and give free vaccines and not give free ones to West Point. So I'm doing my best to get those vaccines for free so that we're fair to everybody as much as we can. When it's all said and done, we'll do a clinic and it'll be at a discount price regardless. But, right now the vaccines are a problem for us to get. Some of them that were $1.35 per shot are now up to $4.35 like that. I can do a lot of magic, but I cannot budget that much of a jump. So that's what's taken so long. But I plan on doing little ones in different areas so that people can get to us. Anybody else?
What time is that clinic?
10 to 2.
10 till 2.
Mm-hmm. And if you come out, we'll get Kenny Saltzman to fill out your paperwork for you.
Absolutely.
He guides traffic for me out there, and he did a fantastic job, by the way. So
I enjoyed it.
it's interesting when you see it, when you watch it. And I've said if we're going to set up at the end of because that was dangerous what we were doing last time, and that was not my choice of where to set up. So I've said if we can't set up at the end parking lot, I'm just going to load up and I'll reschedule. because I've got to keep the animals and the people safe.
Yeah.
So, somebody else? Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next, Emergency Management, Joy Scott.
Afternoon, Judge, members of court.
Good afternoon.
Just want to start off, Judge and members of court, by saying that I owe some thank yous to some people. I was on vacation last week when the bad storms came through, and Hardin County was very fortunate. Some counties in Kentucky was not fortunate. They had some damage. But I had a good team here that was taking care of everything. My deputy, Richard DeWitt, done a great job. 911 EMS, Crystal Leo for getting all the information out on Facebook and social platforms for us. People watch that. We have a lot of followers on that now, so I was really proud of them. I wasn't trying to Monday night quarterback it from the hills of Tennessee, but I was in contact with people making sure everything was getting done. So it's a lot of moving parts there in those storms when they come in. So thank you again for that. All right. Just some significant actions from the month of March. March 6th, local emergency planning committee meeting. We attended the pipeline response exercise. We actually attended 2 different classes that week. Mutual aid meeting with Fort Knox Fire Department. We've met with Fort Knox Fire Department about doing some mutual aid on hazard material spills in the unincorporated areas of Hardin County. So we've had some good meetings and talks with them. Attended meetings with the Lincoln Trail Health District. Attended the Red Cross board meeting. Participated in an active shooter exercise. Also attended a rail car training exercise in Bowling Green, Kentucky that was very informative and a very good class for us to go to, especially since we've had so many incidents as of recent years. And there's going to be a lot more stuff coming in our communities as well, so we needed to get updated on our that class. March 20th, we attended the Kentucky Response Committee meeting, a Zoom meeting we attended. Also, the 21st, we attended the Emergency Service Committee meeting. The 27th was Blue Oval SK meeting with the county engineers, met down there at the site. March 27th, attended the Safety Committee meeting here at local government. And on the 28th, we went to the meeting with Sonora, Upton, and West Point mayors over the emergency operation plan and had them sign some paperwork for us. All right, emergency incidents for the month of March. Potential hazmat semi-fire at 89-mile marker turned out that it was not a hazmat. We did respond to that. Made a couple responses with Hardin County SO to Blue Oval SK during the month of March. Large woods fire on Can School Road in western Hardin County. That was three department response plus emergency management responded to that. Made a drone assist with the Kentucky State Police on I-65 look for a fugitive. And also a large woods fire on Deckersville Road with Ronnieville Fire Department. And I can speak a little bit about that. That was a pretty amazing scene to see 13 different agencies working together. I think it was pretty close to Manager Saltzman's house there. We had about 20 acres of woods on fire and encroaching on some homes. And the way 13 agencies got together and really collaborated and worked great together. So really appreciate all that hard work and dedication by the fire departments and other agencies as well.
Hey, while you're on the
Yes,
that fire, you want to explain again and update us, or let the community know about the burn ban that's...
Yes, sir. It's not a burn ban. It's a burn ordinance.
Burn ordinance.
But you can't burn before 6 p.m. After 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is the burn time. And always use judgment call, too. If it's going to be windy that night, don't go out and burn, please. Because we've had a lot of wildfires in the state of Kentucky this month, the last 2 months. And we've had quite a few here. We've had multiple large woods fires here. And, that gets into encroaching on homes and can burn people's property. So just use your best judgment, but by all means, 6 p.m. is the cutoff time, and that goes until the 15th of this month as well. So thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, sir, thank you. Community outreach, we've done our monthly county report with Ms. Megan McDougall at Quixie. Also, we started a new class now with National Weather Service, and that picture's upside down there. That's a picture of the classroom, Miss Hardin's class, Lincoln Trail Elementary, fourth grade class. Fourth grade is the science year for elementary students, and they're studying storms and studying different weather events. And we were fortunate enough to get to go out with National Weather Service and give a 2-hour class on, and it was really informative. We were really proud of the kids for asking great questions as well. So we look to partner up with them to do more schools in Hardin County as well. So, and that's all I have. Any questions? Thank you all so much.
All right, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. All right, there are some other written reports, Public Works and Road Department, that are available online. Takes us to our next item, citizens' concerns or comments. Anybody have any concerns or comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. All right, next would be have a presentation to make. I think it's only 43 slides, 1 minute per slide. No, it's not going to be that. BK's getting. All right, so today I'm just going to present basically a summary of proposed 2024-25 budget. And one thing, just kind of review our mission. We're trying to maximize all available resources to provide a well-planned, adequately sourced, professionally executed public programs, infrastructure, and services to our county citizens. This just shows a basic timeline. It's fairly typical of what we need to go through in the state of Kentucky for a county to get our budget approved. So you can see we've been through a couple of meetings. We are ahead of schedule this year and had a condensed schedule for our finance department primarily, but all the departments to pull together the initial draft of the proposed budget. So again, as you can see, today is the first reading, which we're about to do with the budget ordinance. One of the things that we're trying to do is transparency, and I believe that we have achieved that to a large degree, something similar that we did last year. And so we've been through this, and we have a balanced budget of $59,615,729 for this upcoming fiscal year. And of course, as I said, it's been a transparent team approach by a lot of people. This just shows that as we have rolled through here, just a lot of different meetings starting back in February and March, all the departments submitting, discussing their basic budget proposals. We pulled together all their wants. Sometimes they had some needs thrown in there, and we were able to apply those to the budget, but most of the wants were not added to the budget. And some hard decisions were being made all along the process. On February 26th, the finance team compiled all these budgets. March 15th, we had the finance team compiled the first version, and then the finance team presented the budget to the finance committee and all the magistrates several times for discussion and revision on those dates shown. And department head, we also was trying to meet with our department heads of each of the departments and keeping them updated as we were working through this process. So all that to say that we did all that, and here we are today to present the proposed budget. Just a great job, I just wanted to say, by my staff, the treasurer and finance team, magistrates, department heads, just all the different people that had a part in this and pulling this together as quickly as we did. It was a good job. So I'm going to go through a quick overview and look at some revenue by source, expenses by department, some conclusion and strategy, and then I have a short appendix at the end that I'll make mention of. Okay, just to start off right off the bat with kind of the bottom line situation here. It's not a beautiful budget by any means. Whenever we go through the numbers, we have basically $22 million of recurring net operating expenses. And I'll show you a little more detail here in just a moment. But that's kind of where we're at right now. We unfortunately only have revenue of $17.5 million of recurring, sustainable taxes, fees, some interest thrown in there from some money that we have. So you add all those up, and it only amounts to $17.5 million. We do subtraction, and we end up with a couple of things that we could pull from. The decision was made that we would utilize $4.3 million of this one-time payment to Hardin County government from the BOSC pilot agreement. And we also have some, I would call it one-time interest off of our ARPA money that's sitting out there that came in at $400,000, $440,000, and this money is scheduled to be spent in the next, this calendar year and not too long time period, so we won't have interest off of that anymore, which is why I kind of separated it out. So that's how we balance the budget. It's again utilizing over $4 million of the $8 million BOSC pilot agreement. It's a one-time payment to Hardin County government, and that's what was utilized. This budget also, which I'll mention a couple times, includes 2% cost of living adjustment. Just a couple notes here on the capital investments and a note on unrestricted cash reserves, just to make sure we're all on the same page with this. We have $1.2 million for capital investments included in this budget. Ambulances, to be precise on exactly what they are. It's we have 2 remount ambulances. They add up to $380,000. And we also have new ambulances that are in the budget. There's 3 of those. We decided to purchase those back in the summer of last year with knowledge at the time that we were purchasing those, it was going to take about 2.5 years to get them. So, anyway, those are still in there. Those $820,000 worth, and they most likely, unless something drastic changes, will not show up in the next fiscal year, but they have to be in the budget. We have about $9 million unrestricted cash, rainy day reserves. This is not being used to balance the budget. We have $6.6 million from the hospital sale. This is also decided not used to balance the budget this coming year. That is divided up into $3.9 million in reserves that are sitting there, and then we add the about $2.7 million annual payout to Hardin County government, which will happen in January of next year. And then finally, we have this $8 million BOSC pilot agreement. $6 million has been deposited, and we have $2 million that will show up by the end of 2024. The proposed use, what I was hoping to use this for, was $8 million was for emergency services project in Glendale, but instead we will use half of that approximately to balance the 2024-25 budget. One positive note here, we don't have any debt. Some challenges. Try to summarize though. After looking at the slide, I can see it's too small a print, so I should have divided the slide up. Revenue challenges includes a 4% increase in property taxes next year. So we're already making that assumption. We'll deal with that later this year. And that will account for approximately $700,000 is what's budgeted. Bring the total up to $2.5 million in the budget for property taxes. This budget does not utilize the annual hospital payout of $2.7 million. It utilizes the solid waste revenue that we'll be using for the road and for the general fund, adds up to about $2.3 million. It includes estimated net revenue from the industrial taxing district. We were able to only put $180,000 in the budget for that. We know that it will be more than that. The problem is we don't know how to estimate it. And so this is all we could put in the budget for now. No pressure on our folks working on that project, sitting back there in the back of the room. We only need about $4 million, so don't worry about it. But that's just really to say that we do have an upside on this part of the budget on the revenue. We don't know how much at this point in time, but we'll know a lot more here definitely by the end of the year. This budget also utilizes $4 million, as I've said, about half of the BOSC pilot agreement. This is, in case you're not familiar with that, it's a one-time payout in lieu of Blue Oval SK construction workers' occupational taxes. And so this was an agreement with them that instead of trying to obtain the construction workers' occupational taxes, this was a payout to take in place of that. And so that's what this is, and it'll be a one-time deal. So some of the appropriation challenges, we're really, one of our biggest issues, of course, is that we're fighting inflation, as we all feel and know every single day. All the departments' wages and equipment costs are rising significantly. This high inflation in the past 3 years is driving a lot of this. So just to give you some feel for that, over $2.5 million increased subsidies to support the budgets in really mainly two areas. But for instance, the jail increased $1.7 million from the budget that we're currently in. The Sheriff's Department, $580,000 increase, and then the County Attorney, $180,000 increase. Not complaining about any of these, just saying these are the facts. And so if you look at the total subsidy for Hardin County government to these three entities, the jail is at $4.5 million. $4.5 million that we subsidize that service to the county. Sheriff, $3.4 million. And then the attorney, county attorney, $800,000. So you add those up in your head there, and $8.7 million compared to we are getting currently $10.5 million of property tax as projected revenue. So you can start to see some of the things that we're up against. As far as EMS, that's our largest department here in this building, and this subsidy is staying steady at about $2.6 million, and this is with 2 rebuilt ambulances that are included in that budget. The total EMS expenses are about $10 million. The road department, we are providing them $1.4 million subsidy from the solid waste revenues to cover asphalt and bridge improvements that aren't covered by the state or federal funds. Increases in insurance, health and property insurance across all departments, that increase alone was $1 million over last year, over the current budget. So it totals about $4 million in this budget just for insurance. E911 department overage is $200,000, and this is going to be there until our 911 fee is increased to cover the Radcliffe 911 merger costs. There's a 2% COLA, cost of living adjustment, in addition to the automatic step and grade increases for all the departments, including the jail, and that amounts to a total of $380,000 to pay for that. There is one new position that we're adding, and that is in the Animal Control Department, and it's about $50,000. So that's kind of a summary of some of the things that are included in this budget, just to kind of give you an idea of how things have gone with our property tax. We last year took the 4% growth rate because our county is growing. Our actual property tax decreased from 11.6 to 11.3 cents per $100 valuation. So that is what we're in now, 11.3, and then we'll be looking at a proposal of another 4%, and I would estimate, don't hold me to it, that the tax rate will still come down because we are growing so much in this county. And so that's kind of where we're at with that. Just a note here on high inflation the last 3 years, just to give you some numbers. If you can't read those, the 2021 was about 4.7% inflation. 2022 was 8%, and let's see, that was 2022. 2023 was a little over 4% again, and this year it's hovering in the first 2 months at about 3.1%. Thankfully down some from the last 3 years, but still a pretty high inflation rate. Asphalt cost is something that's affecting us directly, and because of inflation, so you can see the growth of that cost over the years. And right now we are around $86, $87 in that ballpark for asphalt, compared to where we were just a few years ago, down in the 60s and on down. I can't even imagine it being down in the $40, $45 range back in 2017. Real property tax dollars. History, as you can see, this year, this budget is at $8,300,000 with a 4% increase. We estimated at about $8,600,000 for this coming budget. The orange line is just showing inflation rate over those years. Just to look quickly at broken down the budget into these areas, these departments, offices, and compared to the current budget we're in to this proposed budget, you can just see some differences there of the general fund, about a $4 million increase there. So you can see some pretty big changes in some of those numbers. The bottom line number comes out, it's offset by some of the federal state grants. So the ARPA money being used up is the big one for the ARPA, meaning the American Rescue Plan Act. And so a lot of that money is being used up, and so we still end up in the $59.5 million range for the total budget. Department budgets, I just want to give you an idea. These are departments that have revenue. Okay, so they're revenue of some kind of some fees, some grants, etc., to offset some of their expenses. So you can see there some of the big ones: detention center at about $10.5 million expenses. They do have revenues in the ballpark of $6 million. So we have that balance of $4.5 million balance that we must subsidize the jail to make sure that that service continues the way it's supposed to. Emergency medical services, again, is up over $10 million. We're estimating and working toward a revenue of $7.3 million. So we still have $3.4 million balance there. That includes the 2 remount ambulances for this coming year that are in the budget. The road department, you can see those on down the line, and you can see that at the very bottom, thankfully, we have a solid waste disposal landfill department that makes money at almost $2.3 million, of which is being used to balance this budget. So I wanted to understand exactly where we were with net revenues and net expenses. So on the left-hand side, you can see that we have all of our revenues that are coming in of the various different property tax and vehicle taxes, and then some of the fees that are coming in from the sheriff's fees and clerk's fees. We have, again, the solid waste that I just mentioned, revenue. Again, the industrial tax that we only estimated at $180,000, and other revenue sources that are kind of mixed together. You can see those at the bottom, what all's in that. And then, of course, we had to throw in this BOSC pilot agreement to make it all come out to the $22 million that we need to cover the expenses on the right-hand side of the slide that you can see basically by department there. And any of those that have a slight blue background to them, any of those are departments with net expenses. So anyway, you add those up, and that's really what is driving our deficit that we're seeing in our revenues. And if you a little more visual of the net operating revenues, you can see that about 60% of our revenues coming in from taxes and fees. The BOSC pilot agreement is providing 20%. And you see over on the right, again, that same breakdown. Okay, I'm going to move on to just some bullet points for overview, give you a little more specific details of a few things that are in this budget. Again, $59.6 million budget. This, by the way, was through some of the meetings that we had together with the Finance Committee, that there was requested $600,000 worth of reductions, of which we incorporated those into this revised budget. So it has brought that budget down from where it was. Again, balanced with this one-time BOSC pilot agreement. $380,000, I mentioned already, the 2% employee COLA, in addition to the step and grade increases. $1.2 million worth of EMS equipment upgrades. That's the 2 remounts and the 3 new ambulances. And again, I mentioned the $4 million of insurance. $4.5 million of funding in supplementing the detention center, $2.7 for the county sheriff, $253,000 for the county clerk for election expenses, $777,000 to help fund the county attorney's office, 2.1 state road aid, and then you can see some of these others here. I'll try not to go through each one. We've got the county coroner at $725,000. Just in case you didn't know, we do help fund the volunteer fire departments in the county at the rate of $372,000. Public library, $1.2 million, and our county animal care and control at $1.368 million, and PVA, $254,000, and planning and development, $370,000, and then engineering services at $448,000, and then a few other odds and ends, important things that we subsidize. $131,000 for our recycling program. See some pretty big numbers there for jail medical contract and the jail food and meals contract. Okay, just to make sure that we're on the same page here with the comparison on revenue, the total revenue, gross revenue, if you will, from each of these areas. One of the big ones to pick out is the jail revenue. It's what's causing some of our issues. where we've seen a decrease in that revenue of over $1 million from the current budget that we're in. So that is driving some of our issues anyway. Some of the other numbers are pretty similar from last year. The revenue, tax and fee portion, again, just kind of give an idea of how much is coming from our property taxes. It's about 17% from property taxes alone, a total of 23% from taxes and fees. Expenses, gross expenses, you can see as you look down through there that this is the money that it takes to run each of these departments and offices, how much we're having to pay to make these services go. So you can see all the different ones, EMS being at the top of the list at $10,759,000, and then on down the list. So it adds up to about $35 million in our general funds. And then if we look at the restricted funds, which includes the jail, the road, E911 primarily, and that adds up to about $19 million. So the total expenses needed to provide our services next year are basically our general and restricted funds, and I'll subtract out the library grant that was in there of $1.8 million, and it will come out to about $52 million is really what we need to make all these services go each year in this next budget. So a couple of conclusions, and we'll wrap up. Safety and emergency, again, we've mentioned the equipment upgrades with the ambulances. We've got an emergency services study that has been started in regard to our EMS and fire and 911 services. That will be completed this next budget year. We were able to get funding for that without impacting this budget, so that's good. But I'm excited about this study, and it's definitely part of our strategy to move forward with our county in these three parts of our emergency services. Safety and growth, if we look at our sheriff's budget, increased significantly there, and we got $3.4 million subsidy. Again, we know that we need to have a safe place to live, so we invested in that. Detention center, we've got to have a jail, and it's got to run, so we have a $4.5 million subsidy. And of course, our county attorney, much needed increases there, totaling $777,000. Safety, roads and bridges, a lot of money going in that area. A lot, I guess, if for individuals, it's not a huge amount for a county this size, but we do have an 80/20 bridge replacement subsidy of $310,000. We'll get $80,000 from the state to help us with that. $675,000 from the state that funds paving Upper Colesburg and New Salem roads. We, again, this year have an annual right-of-way mowing contract, and that will continue with 3 mowings as opposed to 2 to make sure that we have safe intersections in the county. And we also have process improvements, focus on improvement of new road and maintenance processes and standards. We'll continue to be focused on that. We do have a new engineer, and he has got a whole lot of experience in these types of things, so he'll be helping us develop some even better standards and processes to help us have longer lasting roads and better roads going forward. We have EMS at a 15% increase in revenue, and that's going to be some continued process improvements that we'll be continually to work on. And then just a few other items here of our people, 2% COLA. We've got this 4% inflation back in last year to deal with. Communication and transparency. We've got improvement and upgrade of our website is going to continue on. Infrastructure, we have a South Hardin County sewer study that has started, and we used ARPA money to help with that with our water district to get that started, and hopefully see the results of that in this next budget year. We have this broadband expansion, BEADS grant money for the last 10% of unserved or underserved residents in Hardin County. We're working pretty hard on figuring out how we can get a maximum amount of money coming out of the state, out of the federal, to help pay for expanding broadband out into some of the more rural parts of the county. Animal care, like I mentioned before, we're adding one person there. And then, of course, our library, we are increasing $80,000 to the annual support. Now, I said just an appendix, just to give you an idea. This is all personnel stuff, so this shows kind of the growth in salaries due to wage inflation type of things. And so we're up to $15 million in wages. You can see a lot of personnel benefits, another $8 million in that. And you add them all up, and we end up this year at almost $24 million in personnel expenses. And this, of course, again, includes a step-in grade plus a 2% COLA increase. This amounts to about 46% of our county expenses. That's kind of, we're definitely driven by our people. We have some great people here that are working every day to make sure these services get better and better for our citizens. So, at that, hopefully that longer than usual presentation, possibly, I don't know, but there's a lot really to cover in this difficult budget this year. I firmly believe that this will be our hardest budget that we'll deal with as we start to see more money coming in from the tax that we expanded in the unincorporated part of the county, the industrial tax, and we see that money flow in. We'll have some relief from some of this, and thankfully we've got the BOSC pilot agreement money available to us to kind of cushion the time that we need to start to see more and more of that money in revenue. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and move on into the next. We're going to go ahead and have the first reading of ordinance number 340, series 2024, fiscal year 2024-25 budget. And is there a motion to approve this budget?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, Judge.
Yes.
That was a very nice presentation, by the way, very informative.
Thank you.
But what I didn't hear in there is a definite way of how we're going to be able to continue to sustain taking $4.8 million or whatever each year. That's going to leave us with roughly $13 million in reserves, around $20 million if you count the hospital money.
Right.
So it doesn't take very many years at $4.4 million to totally deplete our reserves. So therefore, I can't support the budget. We simply can't continue to spend more money than we're bringing in. It's irresponsible to do this with your budget at home, and it's irresponsible to do it with taxpayers' money. I've heard a lot of comments concerning this budget, such as hopeful and optimistic, and even that they're willing to gamble that we'll have the money to eventually cover it. I think it's premature to count on the occupational tax when we don't have a baseline to know how much money it's going to bring in. There's no doubt that we employ some of the greatest employees in Hardin County and that they deserve more compensation. I agree with that 100%, but our revenue has got to match our expenses. I've been involved in 10 different budgets between the city and county, and only 2 of the 10 has ever been proposed that reserves be used to balance the budget. And that's the 2 that I've been involved with in the county. I voted in favor of the budget last year, but a wise man once said, if you find yourself in a hole, you need to quit digging. If we don't put the shovel down, we're gonna find ourselves in a hole that even if we wanted to, we won't be able to tax our way out of.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Judge,
Yes,
I'd like to make a few comments. It's a great job presenting the internal components of the budget, by the way.
Thanks.
But I'd like to bring us back maybe to also think about the external components of the budget. And you've heard me say in the past, our state legislature, Mr. Thompson can attest to this, we've spent 13 years going to Frankfurt trying to get them to put Hardin County on a level playing field to where we can do the things that other counties can do. But they continually refuse to do that. And so until we reach that level playing field, we will never, ever be in a situation to where our budgets won't be an issue every single budget cycle. The state legislature and our corrections department, they have refused to address the jail issue. We've got probably, if not the best, one of the very best jailers in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Josh does everything humanly possible to maintain some sort of parity in the budget, but he can only do so much. And our Department of Corrections, they continually refuse to address the issue that we are faced, and not just our county, but other counties as well. But we cannot continue to operate in the state of Kentucky the way that the legislature and the Department of Corrections are currently doing it. And but what I mean by that is that their funding policy, when someone's arrested in Hardin County or Elizabethtown or any place in Hardin County, they have broken a law that was passed by the state, not by the city, not by the county. But guess what? We have to pay the freight for a specified period of time for that person incarcerated in our county jail. If they would only do one simple thing, start compensating the county jails from day one when they're arrested, instead of playing this shell game that they play with the money, we could solve most of our jail problems. But it's our problem. But it's an external component of our budget that we need to not lose sight of. And so, we need to manage better in Hardin County, but we also need to try to influence better in Frankfurt. And I want to remind folks to do that. I'll give you a good example. Senate Bill 283 passed the Senate this session unanimously. It was sent to the House, and the House committee passed it out of committee unanimously. Well, guess what? The last day of the legislature, it was recommitted back to A&R, Appropriations and Revenue Committee. That's usually a committee where they send something to face its political death. I hope that's not the case here. I hope that they're reconsidering maybe some issues or some moving parts of it. Remain optimistic about that. But we were pretty confident that bill was going to pass. And it was going to be about, $700,000 this year to Hardin County and 2 subsequent payments of $50 following. But I think I have that information correct. But anyway, my point is we keep facing more and more and more obstacles from all of the unintended consequences in a lot of cases that the legislature has given us. And so we have to face this. I don't want the public to not forget that we're battling 3 fronts here. Our own cost, our own expenses, inflation, and then we've got our own state government that we're pushing back against as well. Combine those 2 elements to what Chris alluded to. We had a pretty aggressive budget last time. So it brings us to this point right now that we're facing in our budget. There's not a person on this court that's not concerned about this budget. Not one of us. We all have the same concerns. But I'm confident that we can manage our way through our fiscal issues and get back to parity. I cannot project what the industrial tax is going to do. None of us can. But we know it's going to do a whole lot more than what we know from this past experience. So I'm going to be in full support of the reductions that we have made in this budget. We made significant reductions in this budget. The committee work and the magistrates that put forth their efforts is significant, probably more significant than anything I've seen in a long time. And I appreciate that effort on everybody's part. But I will be supporting this budget as presented, and I thank you for your efforts.
Any other discussion?
Judge,
Yes, sir.
I think Magistrate Clem, he made some very valid points. We're fighting some issues that are not necessarily in our control. We're not talking about BOSS. We're not talking about just inflation. We're talking about things that we can't, necessarily control right now. It could be in the future. But because of that, we have to plan for those things, which we're not getting that assistance. We're not getting that help with the jail and everything on those lines. So with that being said, take all that and then take into consideration the things that we want to do, where we want to take the county and how we want to advance it, add the jobs that we need to add, give the raises that need to give. We can't do those yet. And so we have to take what we know we have to plan for, which are the issues that we're struggling with the jail, and we have to take care of that first, because that's right in front of us. We can't do it without it. And so with that, and then in my own personal profession, I basically have to live on a ghost budget. I never know when I'm going to get paid, but I can't live with outside my means, because then I'll never get caught up. And for that, I just cannot see spending money that we don't have. And so until we know for sure, or we have better answers on exactly what the numbers are going to look like, I can't see spending money we just don't have. So for that reason, majority of this budget I am for. I'm for a lot of it. I just can't see adding things that maybe aren't necessary yet. And so for that reason, I can't support this budget.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yes, Judge. I'd like to address some issues with the budget. And first of all, I just want to give a big shout out and recognition to our treasurer, Lisa Pearman, who's worked very, very hard and diligently on this budget. It's not an easy task, and one that I would tell you right now could not do. I also want to recognize Magistrate Clem for his guidance and knowledge. He has worked with budgets for many years, serving as magistrate, and I appreciate all that he's done as chair of the Finance Committee and the knowledge that he's brought to the table. And then, Judge Taul, I would like to tell you that I appreciate the work that you've done and the excellent job that you've done in explaining the budget where most anyone could understand. And with that being said, in my opinion, it's a pretty conservative budget. There were several items that we slashed from the budget as a team, as a group, and cut from the budget because of the expense, just to save from having to pull from reserves. There are several things we did to make this budget work, and I think we all came together to do those. I don't want to cut services in our county. A lot of the cost, this money we're talking about, that's services. The jail, whether you want to believe it or not, that's a service because that protects us as a community. The EMS, all of those services, I personally, and I don't think any of you would want to see those cut or any part of those services cut. I definitely want to take care of the employees for county government. Looking in the past, I see that the raises have been very minimal. And I'd like to break that cycle where we make it a competitive salary in Hardin County and a place that people are proud to come to work and know that they're going to be paid for their worth, for the value and the worth that they bring to county government. They're working for the community, for the people that live in this county, and they're worth a 2% cost of living adjustment, and they're worth a step in grade. I don't want to cut that, and you talk about cutting the budget and not doing this, not doing that, and where do you cut? What do you cut? You either cut services or you cut, employees. We're only adding one position this year to the budget, one new position. There were others proposed, but we're only adding one. It's just a real issue and challenge to decide where do you cut this. In my opinion, it is conservative. There's been a lot of work and thought put into it. None of us have a magic crystal ball where we're going to foresee what the industrial tax is going to do for this county and how much money it's going to bring in. But we do know that it will be in our favor. And I agree with Magistrate Clem. I think in the future we're going to see a little less stress and a little more revenue working with this budget. Right now we're going through some growing pains. And with that, remember, we're debt-free. We're debt-free. So for these reasons and others, I fully support this budget and just want to give recognition to those that have put so much work into this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Judge.
Yes.
Thank you. For me, this is the toughest decision that I've been faced with since I've been on Fiscal Court. The Lord and I have had several conversations about this decision that I'm about to make today. We're here today to vote on our second budget of our terms. For most of us, it's a lot like our first one. I voiced my displeasure last year with our budget because of the use of the HMH funds. But there was discussion then, let's just get through this first budget and we'll learn a lot of things and we'll be more prepared for our second budget. $8 million that we're getting from the BOSC was supposed to last us around 15 years. And this first year, we're using over half of it just to balance this budget. We can't continue down this road. I cannot support this budget on the words of hopeful or even gambling, as I've heard others state when counting on the occupational tax to be our saving grace. There are a lot of pieces to the puzzle that are still uncertain. I do agree with that. We have some of the best employees working at county government in the state. They deserve better pay in this economy, but I also believe the citizens of Hardin County deserve a balanced budget, not using our BOSC money that's supposed to last us for 15 more years. Judge Taul, I applaud you for accepting the cuts that were presented to you from your original proposal in the budget. But I feel that it should have been more cuts. I think we could have found some more. And right now, I think we have to be fiscally responsible for our children and our grandchildren. That's all I have.
Anybody else?
I concur with some of the comments that each one of the magistrates have made. But I still believe when we're $4 million something over our budget, that we need to relook at some of the items in the budget, like the cost of living, the new hires. I think there was 2 grade pay raises or something somewhere. And I even believe we need to relook at maybe the county attorney's budget, the library increase, and there might be other items we need to look at. And all these cuts are hard. They're hard for everybody, each one of us to make. But when you're that far over budget, I think, and probably any of the cuts we make or all the cuts, if we make any, won't balance the budget, but at least we'll be getting closer. And that's the reason I think we should to relook and see if any cuts can be made. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, judges, I'm going to put my 2 cents worth in. I know this is tough. I don't like it. I wish it was different. But where do you start cutting it? Kenny just said that, you know, even if we do cut maybe the library, maybe other places, but it's not going to be enough to balance the budget. So why go up that alley if it's not going to balance the budget? Why do we have to do that? I wish we could balance the budget. I wish we could find some more money out there, but I don't know where it's at. I mean, I commend everybody here in Fiscal Court. Everybody has worked very hard, and Fred, I commend you. I know me and you don't agree on very much stuff, but I do commend you. I know how hard you've worked on this, and I want to thank you for the work you've done. But I don't know, I mean, if we can't balance the budget, why do we need to hurt some other department? You know, all of us, I think most of us, live by a budget, and we live within our means. But when we have to make cuts in our family, it's not affecting nobody but our immediate family. It's not affecting all these people that works in county government. So I don't want to go down that road and start cutting people's pay. You know, yes, I have to do that at home, but it affects me and my family. It doesn't affect all these other families here in Fiscal Court or here in the county government. So without knowing how to do anything else, I'm going to support this budget.
Okay, thank you.
Suppose people are waiting to hear from me. The situation we're in, I do not like. I like to have revenue coming in that will meet or exceed expenditures. We do not have that. We do have the means, though, to provide services at a level that's good. We've never been able to provide those services at the level that I believe Hardin County deserves. And yes, a big obstacle is a revenue stream. And when we are continually, take this however you will, wherever you're from, ignored by a state legislature because we just happen to be among a small minority of counties that are penalized by an old law that prevents us from being able to have the same resources that other counties have. It puts us in a bad spot. We are in a bad spot. I do not like additional taxes. I'm not sure where I'll go with those in the future. I do know that we need to maintain services at some reasonable level. We deserve to have employees that are proud to be employees of Hardin County. We have the perception across the state that we are flourishing and doing quite well. And we are, except for funds that are generated for this county government. Our cities are flourishing at an unfair advantage established by our state legislature, and no one within the state legislature is willing to take it on and do anything substantive to correct it. It should be corrected. If there is one mistreated entity in an operation and is just wrong, that needs to be dealt with. I've never run for state legislature, never felt like I really could make any kind of difference there. Thought that some of the people we sent there could on our behalf. Pray that they will eventually. If that does not happen, I will have totally failed my community in representing you on Fiscal Court, because much of my energy has gone toward getting that change made. It's not happened. We're stuck at a bad spot. We must provide for good, effective services, and we must have a budget that'll do that. I don't like this one. I'm sure we can find some ways to cut some more somewhere. It's going to hurt where we cut because we don't have any extra to cut. So I suppose, as uncomfortable as it makes me, I wish I were Solomon and we take a sword and start slicing. But I am not, and I don't have that authority. So I must vote. And it's coming.
Okay. All right, so just a comment before we vote. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes whenever we start to look at all the different departments and offices that are providing their budgets and their needs and their wants as we move forward into another year. And, you know, and those were some difficult decisions initially that really nobody sees other than department heads and myself. And, we tried to talk about those in some of our meetings, and we tried to do the best we could to make some good decisions. And at that point in time, we knew that it was going to be a difficult budget coming up, and tried to do the best we could. So we pulled together what I thought was a legitimate budget. I know that it would have been even a different approach to it had there not been our industrial tax that had been passed in December. And it would have been a different look to this budget, for sure. But with that knowledge, we went forward with it, presented it to the finance team and the finance committee, and I thought, even though I thought it was a good budget already, pretty minimal, in my opinion, and of course I'm looking at the point of trying to run, the day-to-day business of the county with very good employees that want to do a good job, but still we need to be able to compensate them appropriately, and we don't need a mass exodus out of our some of these departments. We already have issues with turnover in several departments where we don't pay them enough as it is. I'll use even our jail, where we needed to really increase their wages for the job that they do, jobs that none of us would want to even think about in some days that they have to deal with. And we have people that are, working at fast food restaurants that are making more money. So, all of these things come together, and then we had our meeting and discussed some other cuts, which we went through those, and about $600,000 worth of cuts. All those positions, all those, different things that were being requested to cut out of the budget, considered all of those, and decided to go with those. Okay, so I thought we had basically some agreement that we're going to make a $600,000 cut. It's not going to eliminate the deficit of pushing $5 million, but it helps. So decided to go with that and agreed to all the different requests. And so I thought we were kind of on the same page at that point in time. And then we made the revised budget, been working on pulling together an explanation of what that looks like. And then today we have several of our magistrates that don't feel like that's enough yet to cut out, which, hey, we can cut more out. It's not going to have a huge impact. The salaries and things that some of you have showed concern about, another maybe $150,000 could come out if we didn't do some of those things. The COLA is a $380,000, so yeah, we could take that out. Watch out for the services of the county, but we could cut it out. We could take out, we got a couple of ambulances that are still in the budget. We could cut those, but I'm telling you, right now we're in a position we're paying for some past years that we should have been paying for some new ambulances to come into our fleet, and we're paying for that now. We're trying to. And so, I mean, we had last summer, one of the reasons we talk about, spending more money for some of the fleet is that we actually had some time where we had all of our extra ambulances were being used up, and we didn't have enough of them to keep 8 ambulances out full-time in the county. So these are some of the things that we're up against, along with some of the things that Magistrate Clem talked about, external pressures that our state has let us down on, to be quite frank. And it's made it very difficult for this county to get ahead of the curve. I believe the last thing I want to do was increase taxes, but I'm telling you, you saw the presentation. If you didn't understand something about it, or anybody else out there in the community that you don't know where every single dime of your tax money is going, we'll show it to you. Okay, I can do that. I can do that here in this county. Pretty hard to do in the state, and and God forbid somebody ask the federal government where all that money's going. So, but the county government is different. I live here, right here amongst the rest of you. I pay those taxes, and I don't like paying taxes, but I'll tell you, you know, we've got to find more revenue, obviously. That's why we're up here having some of these difficult discussions, and we're going to get that revenue. We have to keep these services going in the county, and we'll find a way to do it. You know, we're not taxing ourselves completely out of these services as some have suggested. We'll find a way to pay for them. And we're on the cusp of transition time for this county. A lot of growth is coming our way, whether you like that or not. And we have to provide the services. And they cost money. Okay? Yes, we can cut a little bit more out of this budget, but it's going to take us a step backward. And it's too early to do that. Okay? If we're in this position next year and we haven't seen the amount of money we need to see as revenue, then we're going to have to figure something else out to make sure that we have the revenue coming in. But there's just not much left to cut. I'll tell you that right now. So that's why I'm pushing this budget to move forward with it, keep our services going, and make sure that the people of this good county get the services they deserve and that they've been paying their taxes to obtain. So at that, we'll go ahead and wrap up the... Yes, sir.
Can I make one other comment?
Yes.
Just as a point of clarity, the library was referenced. That's a statutory payment that we pay, so that's not something that we can cut or raise or whatever. That's a court order. Also, Mr. Saltzman alluded to the pilot agreement that was to last us 15 years. All that was an agreement that we made because there were so many contractors coming in and out. We could not assess the taxes, so we just made a one-time agreement during the construction phase. So it was not a fund that was going to last us over 15 years. Yeah. Just for point of clarity, sir.
No, that's both good points. I appreciate that, and those are true. All right, so all that said, we can now move on to a roll call.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
No.
Squire Pennington?
No.
Squire Saltzman?
No.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
No.
Judge Executive Keith Taul?
Yes. What's the count?
5 yes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on to the next ordinance. This is a reading and adoption of ordinance number 341, series 2024. This is an annual standing order to pre-approved recurring expenses that deal with payroll, fringe benefits, and utilities. Kind of help matters move along the way that they should in paying our bills and such. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Approved. It's been motion and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, let's move on to roll call.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Executive Keith Taul?
Yes, motion passes. All right, consent agenda. Just a few quick explanations of the first two items and item F on the agenda here, which is Resolution 72, financial transfers. The other two's a report and also paying, claims. All these are financial matters. C, D and E are all personnel changes in the finance, EMS, and E911. These are resolutions 69, 70, and 71. And then item G, which is resolution 73, is related to a contract with Dirtworks Unlimited LLC for owner contractor construction of site development next door. I believe that's I don't know, I thought I had the address written here, but it's right next door to this building. This is in lieu of some repairs on a couple of roads out in the county, and Dirt Works will grade and regrade and prepare the seed bed for grass. I think it's somewhere around 15 or 16 acres next door. And then the last 4 items are minutes from our Emergency Services Committee, Finance Committee, a couple of those, and also Public Works Committee. All right, that's what's in the consent agenda, so I need a motion to approve these items.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I just have one comment on item G. After speaking with the road supervisor, I am satisfied.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, it's a roll call.
Squire Clem,
Yes.
Squire Hicks,
Yes.
Squire Muse,
Yes.
Squire Pennington,
Yes.
Squire Saltzman,
Yes.
Squire Thompson,
Yes.
Squire Whitehead,
Yes.
Squire Yates,
Yes.
Judge Executive Keith Taul.
Yes, motion passes. All right, moving on then to comment time. County Attorney, have any comments?
I do.
Thank you. Do you have any comments from the
Yes.
clerk? Okay, please.
The deadline to register to vote in the May election is April 22nd at 4 p.m. Eligible voters can begin requesting an absentee ballot as of this last Saturday, and you can do both at govote.ky.gov or by calling or visiting the clerk's office.
Oh, thank you. By the way, I appreciate you filling in for Brian Smith. You've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, magistrate's comments. Magistrate Yates.
Just want to remind everybody that this Thursday at 3:30, we'll have our Emergency Service Committee meeting. That's all, Judge.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Saltzman.
I have nothing, just, I think I brought it up in the animal control presentation about the vaccinations and for the dogs.
Yeah, the Pet
Saturday.
Expo, I guess.
Yeah, Pet Expo at 10 to 2, he said, I think.
Right. All right, thank you. Magistrate Whitehead.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to Michelle Kail, who came today and presented program there and what CASA of the Heartland is doing. Just remember, April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Keep that in mind. And if there's anything that you feel in your heart in any way, maybe you want to be a CASA volunteer, maybe you just want to give a contribution to the organization, just go to casa.org and visit them or give Michelle a call on that. Also, the next Resources and Community Support Committee meeting is Monday, April 15th at 3:30, and everyone's welcome to attend that. And remember the rabies clinic Kenny talked about. That's at the former U.S. Cavalry store from 10 to 2. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Clem.
Yes, Judge. The next Finance Committee meeting will be April the 16th at 3:30 across the hall. And also a reminder that our next Town Hall Forum will be held here in the courtroom. It's April the 30th, beginning at 5:30. And I'd like to encourage everyone to try to attend if they can. And also, as a reminder, please don't drink and drive and don't text and drive.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Pennington.
No comment.
Magistrate Thompson.
No comments today. Thank you.
Magistrate Hicks.
The only thing I want to comment on, I forgot to mention Lisa and her staff a while ago. I know all the hard work that they've done, so I didn't mean to skip you and not recommend you, but I thank you for all you do, your staff does, and I just asked everybody here on Fiscal Court and everybody in the county government to pray for Lisa. She's got a big operation coming up, and I just asked you to just remember her in prayer.
Thank you. Magistrate Muse.
The next Public Works Committee meeting's tomorrow at 3:30. It's on the second floor, though, instead of across.
One floor down. Yes.
One floor.
All right. All right, thank you. And I do want to also agree, unless you're around our treasurer, Lisa, and her team, you really don't understand all the stuff that they go through, especially during this budget time. So I know that I probably pushed her about as far as I want to. But I do appreciate everything that you've done and pulling this all together this quickly this year. So it's a good job. All right. I guess next, I just do have the reminder, next fiscal court, April 23rd, and we do have a change on time. It's not going to be 5:30, it's going to be 3:30 this month. 3:30, so don't show up at 5:30 because I don't think we'll still be here at that time. At least I hope not. So that's at 3:30 on April 23rd. All right. Okay. And so we're about to go into closed session. Again, you can, as we prepare to do that, you're welcome to hang around if you'd like. But if not, I understand. All right. So I move to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810 1C, and this is discussion of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the public agency. And number 2 is KRS 61.8101G, discussion concerning a specific proposal if open discussions would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, a roll call.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Executive Keith Taul.
Yes, motion passes.
So moved. Second,
Who
third.
did the motion?
Chris?
Who did second?
And a claim?
I think 4 or 5 of us did.
Any objections? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
I had to make